The question was asked of 52,000 Americans in psychology today, and these are the answers. And here's the question. No help out there. What would it take to make you happy?
To end world hunger.
To end world hunger. Let's take a look. Survey says, oh. Thanks, Pastor Dave, for those sound effects. Again, the question was asked of 52,000 Americans in psychology today. What would it take to make you happy? Yes.
To be married.
To be married. Aren't you about 14? Okay.
I am proud to say I am 15.
15, sorry. To be married, survey says, yes, there's an answer. Good, good. Oh, nice. Could you have piped that in during worship to make us feel like... What would it take to make you happy? Yes.
Stop bullying.
To stop bullying. You're 6'9". What are you kidding? All right. The answer is to stop bullying. I didn't say survey says. All right. What? Oh, someone else. Yeah, you're still up. I never watched this show, so. What would it take to make you happy? Yes.
Having a good job.
Having a good job. Let's take a look. Survey says, yeah, good job. Amen. Next. Really? What would it take to make you happy?
Money!
Money. Money. Survey says, number one answer. Good job. Good job. Again, the question, well, they're doing a stare down here. What would it take to make you happy?
Success.
Success. Let's take a look. Is success up there? Survey says, yes. Recognition. Well, wait. Judgment. How, does that work? Okay. You win. Good. All right. I had a little gas. Pardon me. What would it take to make you happy, girls? Yes.
To have friends.
To have friends. That's a good answer. What do you guys think? That's a good answer, yeah? To have friends, survey says. Friends, yeah, that's important. Good job. Now, you guys are young, so one of the answers you better not know. What would it take to make you happy? Yes.
To be in love.
To be in love. Let's take a look. To be in love. Survey says, being in love. Yeah. All right, again. What would it take to make you happy? He doesn't have an answer anymore. It's your turn.
World peace.
World peace. This is not a beauty contest. I believe in world peace. And
I believe in
all right. World peace, survey says? No! Wow. Yes, and you can come up. Okay, that's 3 strikes. We're going to do it one more time. You.
3 strikes and you're out of the
Old ball game. That's nice. I do a single, I don't need help. No. What would it take to make you happy? Yes.
God.
God. Survey says? Oh my goodness. Guys, can we give him a hand for the help? Can you grab this? Thank you, brother. I think it's sad. What are the other two, Dave? Go ahead and put those up there, Pastor. Being attractive and having a house payment. No. Right? So there are the 8 things. There's actually a couple more. One was, I don't know. One was sex. And that's why I didn't want the kids to know that. I think that was it. The things that were not on the list you might have caught: world peace, end hunger, stop bullying, and God. God was not on the list of the top 10 things. We have 8 of them, but there were 10 that 52,000 people were asked, what would it take to make you happy? You have a fill-in, and there's several fill-ins, and hopefully you'll have room. And I want to encourage you, and the reason I do fill-ins is so that you are involved in the message. Really important. The first fill-in, the most popular idea of happiness is having the right circumstances. Do we have that update? The right circumstances. How many would agree? If you great things, people will come to me often and say, listen, I want some counsel from you. I say, all right, what's going on? And they tell me their problems. And I don't always, but a lot of times I start with this question. What if you had all the money in the world? Would that still be a problem? They say no. I said, then it's not the problem. Money is not the answer, but the right circumstances is a very popular idea. I call that the when and then thinking. You know what I'm saying? When I get out of school, then I'll be happy. When I get a good job, then I'll be happy. When I fall in love, then I'll be happy. We're going to read this together in the next verse, Pastor Dave. Okay. This is Solomon out of Ecclesiastes. Let's read it together. I decided to enjoy myself and find out what happiness is. Now, this is from a guy who could enjoy himself. He had all the means. He had all the people. He was down. He was the dude. And he could have enjoyed himself. The second fill-in, let me just ask this question. In 1999, there were 12,000 storage units in the USA. By 2012, anybody want to guess? 70,000. That's a good guess, actually. 120,000. The second fill-in is accumulating stuff. Accumulating stuff. The third fill-in, and we're going quickly through some of the fill-ins, but it's just to kind of get a foundation for where we're headed. One of my greatest goals, and probably married men, you would probably agree with this. One of my greatest joys and greatest goals is to make sure Cindy has whatever she wants. It's my heart to make her happy. What happened? Yeah. Honey, am I doing a good job? Yay. The great thing is she does the same thing for me, and it's really amazing. Solomon had 300 wives and concubines. Right? Interesting. The next fill-in is experiencing pleasure. 300 wives and concubines. I don't know how much fun that would be. The fourth fill-in comes out of verses 4 and 6 out of Ecclesiastes. Solomon had it all. He achieved so much success and wealth, achieving success. He was the wealthiest man of his time. Some say he was the J. Paul Getty of his time. Remember when and then thinking. How many have said this? When I hit the lottery, God, I promise, I'll tithe, I'll help my friends, I'll feed the homeless. I think sometimes God gives the lottery winners to the people that are already doing those things. The tithers, the homeless feeder, and that little one back there. Here's a quote from Howard Hughes. When Howard Hughes was asked, how much money will it take to make you happy? He answered, just a little bit more. Just a little bit more. And Solomon wrote in verse 17, all of it is meaningless. It's like chasing the wind. It means nothing. You know, a lot of times, if you want to look at what your priorities are in life, there's a couple of things you can look at. Your checkbook and your calendar, or I guess you guys put it on something. It's still a calendar, okay. I have paper still, guys, sorry. Right? It's interesting because I will ask people, Pastor Rick knows this, I'll ask people, hey, come on out to church, come on out to Thursday night. Man, we had a great time Thursday. We have a slideshow. I'm not sure we're going to have time for it, but it was a great night. And you guys know that I'm a pest. I will text you and invite you and keep on doing it until God comes back. That's my job, is to make sure that you feel welcome and that you would come and check it out. So Thursday night was a great opportunity for that. Our priorities are the things that we pay for and make time for. You can say what you want. I know Reverend Pastor General Raleigh, thank you, is here. Can we bless him? Because he's amazing. We love him. That's my boss, guys. That's the pastor's here, the boss is, and he's a wonderful man. He gave us in school. He gave us a leadership principles thing that I hand out to our board members, and in that, a couple things that I caught was the board members are there every time the doors are open. Whenever there's an event, whenever there's a thing, the board members show up. You know, we realize that there's work and school, but overall, just generally. The other thing he said in that, not only do they show up, they participate joyfully. And that's great, because you guys are awesome at that, and I appreciate that. Jesus knew long ago that people were searching and looking for happiness. He started a series called the Beatitudes. And the Beatitudes, simply put, it means exalted happiness. Jesus gave us 8 Beatitudes so that we would align our attitudes with them. And each one starts with this word, blessed or happy. It's just an old English word, and it means happy. I'm not sure if we have, do we have these up, Pastor Dave? Yeah. No, that's not it. That's all right, brother. I'll just read them. Happy are you if you're poor in spirit, for yours is the kingdom of heaven. Happy are those who mourn, for they shall be comforted. Happy are the meek, they'll inherit the earth. Happy are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness, for they will be filled. Happy are the merciful, for they'll be shown mercy. Happy are the pure in heart, for they will see God. Happy are those who are persecuted because of righteousness, for theirs is the kingdom of God. And happy are the peacemakers, for they shall be called sons of God. About 2 months ago, I was at a McDonald's, and I'm not sure if you were with me, honey, or not, but at any rate, I still am a man, and I still have those kind of ego things. And I saw a guy backing up, and another guy was coming kind of quickly. And so the guy just tooted his horn, you know, to help the guy out. Hey, I'm here. And the guy got out of his car, slammed the door, and he said, "Come on." He wanted to fight. And so I began to laugh because I wanted to get his attention. See, I wanted him to come and fight me. So I was sitting in the car, and I began to laugh at this guy. He looks over, and I said, "Punk," you know, and that's my ego. But the Bible says, and I left there feeling kind of like torn, you know. I'm a believer. I love Jesus. I get to minister in a church, and I still want to kick butt. I still have an ego, and I don't like people to get picked on. But the Bible says I'll be happiest when I'm making peace. I'm happiest when I'm meek. And meek has been defined, what is it, the definition of it? Like controlled, power under control. I knew that I could have got out and probably, you know, made a happy star out of him. I don't know. But I just had to stop and say, what am I doing? Happy are the peacemakers. You know, it's interesting because it's like a positive and a negative. And so when you read these things, it sounds like a giant contradiction. Happy are the sad. Happy are those who mourn. Happy are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness. It doesn't sound happy to me. It sounds like a contradiction. But Jesus was trying to teach an important lesson. That in spite of your circumstances, you can be happy. Right now, you can choose to be happy. If you have everything perfect in your life, and that's what makes you happy, are you ever really going to be happy? No. And no one has everything perfect in their life. The fifth fill-in is that happiness does not depend on right circumstances, but depends on the right attitude towards your circumstances. And the next fill-in is happiness is not determined by what's happening around me, but by what's happening in me. Life is pretty tough. Would you agree? I mean, it can be tough. Loss of jobs, death in family, lose friends. There's a lot in life that can be tough. But happiness is a choice you make. So today, you can be as happy as you choose to be. And I don't mean that to act like you're not affected in real ways by when you're hurting. That's okay. Happy are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. So it's interesting because I've often wondered, what does poor in spirit mean? Right? I mean, is it like self-deprecating? Is it like woe's me, poor me, low self-esteem? No. Jesus did not die for junk. You are all wonderful and beautifully made by the King and the Creator of the universe. But the opposite of the poor in spirit is, in the Good News translation, is happy are those who know they are spiritually poor, and the Living Bible says, happy are the humble. The bottom line is, if you want to be happy, humility and happy go together. You don't want to be happy, don't be humble. I promise you, the moment you stop being a teachable person, guys, I've been playing guitar for 40 some odd years, seriously, and teaching since I was 13, and I'm 56. I have a master's degree in guitar. I can play guitar. You know what? It don't matter. Sometimes I walk in and those little 9 and 10 and 12-year-old kids, they'll show me something off the internet, and I go, ooh, wait, show me that. I had a kid teach me that, what is that dance from Japan? Yeah, what is it? Yeah, that one. Yeah, he taught me that on guitar. He was like 9 years old. No, I'm not doing the dance. No way. The bottom line, guys, is if you want to be happy, be humble. Learn humility. The other interesting thing about learning humility, how many know this is true? If you don't act humble on your own, God will help you with that. Right? I mean, just about the time I think I've arrived, I'm way down the street still. Humility reduces, what do you guys think? Someone said stress. Stress. Humility reduces stress. When I'm humble, I don't have to have all the answers. The world does not depend on me. I don't have to pretend that I'm perfect. Humility causes me to walk humbly with the Lord and depend on Him. The ninth fill-in, and there's 11, so I'm trying to get to these. Humility improves my relationships. Now, anybody know anyone that's just arrogant? They know everything. I mentioned a couple of weeks back a young lady at the church we were at before. No matter what you do, she's done it better. I mean, she was telling me about guitar one day, and I said, okay, I'm going to have fun with this. Man, those lights, man, we need to do something. Oh, I was in lighting. I know how to do all that. And pretty soon, we had done this big circle. She was a one-woman wrecking ball. She could have done anything in the church because she had done it all before. Those kind of people are not fun to be around. They're kind of irritating, actually. Self-centered people are never, ever, ever happy. They're just self-centered. And because they're not happy, they love to make other people what? Unhappy. Misery loves company. There was a friend of mine a long time ago named Jerry Jameson at Faith Community Church. Jerry was one of the most wonderful young men I ever knew. He was maybe my age or a year younger. I taught him bass guitar. And his heart was so wonderful. He was a walking Jesus. And I would say, brother, man, to be like you. And I remember he would put his head down and go, shoot, there but by God's grace go I. His heart was so soft for people. He cared about them. And that's the kind of person I want to be around. That's the kind of person I want to be. Do you want to be around arrogance, or do you want to be around people that are humble and lovers of other people? They become more interesting because they're more interested in other people, and they're good. I'm going to need some help with this. And actually, Dave, Pastor Dave, you have the boos and the yays, right? Okay, so we'll get the church involved with this, right? Let's get the church involved, right? If I'm going to make some statements, and if you think it's bad, I want you to go boo and hiss, and okay? You ready, Dave, with those? Because they look a little stunned still. I'm not sure. People who, now listen, hear this, church, because this happens a lot in the church, and I'd love to see it stop. People who, I just kind of gave away, huh? Okay, then just get ready. Oh, wait, I didn't say it yet. Listen, I slur my S's. I can better than anybody. Oh, yeah, we're back to that. Survey set? No. People who kiddingly take shots at people and say, I'm just kidding around, they're usually one of three things. They're arrogant, they're insecure, or they're jealous. What do you think? All three. Is that a boo, a hiss? Boo. Wow. I didn't even see your lips move. That was really good. Check it out. And I said this a second ago. Humble people become interested in others, so they become interesting to others. Yay. Okay, good. People who are not humble have to be right all the time. Boo. Thank you. Remind me never to have a tuba on the worship team. Not going to work. Humility allows the other person to be right, hear this, church, even if you don't think they are. Remember, you guys remember, now some of you will remember this, some won't. Who remembers the Fonz? Hey, right? There was a word that Fonzie had a problem saying. Do you remember what it was? I'm sorry, or I was wrong. He would go, I was real. So on the count of three, I want you to say I was wrong like Fonzie would. 1, 2, 3. I was... Okay, very nice. Allows other people to be right, even if they're not. Arrogance won't say, I'm wrong, I'm sorry, or I need help. Right? Now, I've been working with a young man for the last probably 2 weeks, honey, trying to get this kid into recovery. One of the hardest things about recovery in people is the person doesn't want to say, hey, I need help. I need help. That's a hard thing to do. Years ago, I was at a church, and I made a statement from the monk, St. Francis of Assisi. I called him St. Francis of Assisi, and the church got a kick out of it. But, he said, preach the gospel, sometimes use words, things like that we've come to know from him. He had a way of maintaining humility. He said in his memoirs that any time someone praised him, monk came up and said, man, you're amazing. What you do is, I don't know what the language they would use, but that was the message that they were saying. He would have another monk come up and tell him, here's where you fall. Here's where you're not good. It helped him to maintain humility. And when you walk in humility, you walk on just trying to please the Lord. And you find, I love this, you find a deeper love for God's people. Guys, as a pastor here and just as your friend, I really love you guys. I really care about you guys. And I want the Lord in your life. I want him to be so important. Okay, how many won't answer this? How many won't go outside in the morning without first taking their shower? Won't take off, right? You take your shower, right? The rest of you don't mind going to work without a shower? Okay. Whew, okay. Right? Okay, so how many go outside? Okay. How many won't go to work without first having a shower? Okay, good. I won't go anywhere without spending time with Jesus. No way, no matter what. He is my priority. And in the morning, I bring the dogs downstairs. They get a little crazy, but after a while, they'll sit right here, and my little one will sit up here, and Cindy, of course, is still sleeping, and I spend time with the Lord. I read his word, and I pray. I pray for you guys. And I'll tell you why. I need it. Because guys are always backing out of McDonald's parking lots. Isn't it easy to get frustrated and just want to kill somebody? All right? That's just me? Okay. The 10th fill-in is humility releases God's power. You want God's power in your life? Be humble. Learn to be humble. James 4:6 from the Living Bible says, God gives strength to the humble, but he sets himself against the proud. Here's a radical, I want you guys to write this down if it's not in your bulletin. Deuteronomy 28, the whole chapter. The first 15 verses are blessings. The second 25 maybe verses, don't quote me, but something like that, are curses. One of the verses says that God will make your enemies have success over you. That's pretty strong. The God of love will cause your enemies to beat you if you don't follow him in humility. So I guess a question is, who wants more of God's strength in their life? I mean, everybody, right? The secret of spiritual power and discipline is to walk humbly before the Lord and to depend on him. You guys remember the song, Breathe? You are the air I breathe. I mean, they're saying in that song that you are so important to me. Not only do I not go outside without a shower or some breakfast, but you are the very air I breathe. It's God who gives us our breath in the morning. Don't take it for granted. It's God that wakes you up and gives you your breath. Coming up here week in and week out, and every pastor here would say this, I believe. People are asking me, I'm looking for God. Where's God? I'm hurting. What's going on? Where's God at? What should I do? And the list, guys, the list goes on and on and on. And it's a privilege, really. But sometimes, and this has been one of those weeks that I shared with my wife and Pastor Rick, a little bit with Raleigh, I felt very, very inadequate. And I had to remind myself through some friends, my wife, the fact of the matter is I am inadequate. And now I'm inadequately not going to be able to see my words. But it's why I spend time with the Lord, because I'm inadequate. The morning that I was talking to Cindy, and I was feeling really inadequate. That morning, God led me to 3 scriptures. Now, guys, I think God is in charge of everything, so I don't think it was a coincidence that he led me to these places. I believe he had a message for me. The first one, as I said, I've been reading in 1 Kings. And they said of Solomon, when he took over for his father David, he prayed, I'm like a little child. I don't know what to do. I don't even know what's needed. And it's my prayer every morning, and I journal every day, God, give me wisdom. Lord, give me vision for your people. Because I don't know if you know this or not, but people aren't running to churches, they're running away from churches. So I pray, God, show us. Show us what it means. I've often said, could we just tear down the walls and be done? Not be done with church, but be done with religion. Then I went to 1 Corinthians chapter 16. And this was so powerful. I shared it with Cindy. It says, a good opportunity for a great and growing work has been given to you. Oh, thanks for that, God. But it actually was a blessing. And I want to read something just out of Psalms. And we're going to be wrapping it up just a few minutes. Guys, Psalm chapter 1. Happy are those who don't listen to the wicked or go where sinners go, who don't do what evil people do. They love the Lord's teachings, and they think about those teachings day and night. They are strong like a tree planted by the river. Their tree produces fruit in season. Now hear this. Everything they do will succeed. Not a couple things, but if we serve Jesus with our whole hearts, then everything we touch comes from God's economy. Our economy, checkbooks, right? Tough. God is waiting to pour out his economy into our lives. But we have to be humble. Many years ago, I met Rick Byer and Pastor Rick, and I was a new worship leader, really, over at New Hope Church in Chino. It was 2000 or something like that. And you guys, we have our music stands up here, and I've said for many years, the best thing any worship team can do is turn that music over. Prepare. Get prepared at home. Spend time. Be prepared. I love that Big Brian, our bass player, he texted me this morning, buddy, or last night? He says, I don't know, what are you talking about? He texted me, hey, this chord in this song is wrong, and we need to add this over here. And Brian's a great musician, so I thought, oh, wow. Someone is preparing. So one of the P's, when I teach the kids, what do we do, Albert? 3 P's, practice, practice, and practice. But Rick, you remember, you would ask me, well, are we going to do the verse, chorus, and then a bridge, and then come back to the verse and end with the chorus? And that's very common in worship. In fact, when we did worship at the district, there was literally on the right side VC, VC, B, VC. And we followed that pretty close to the except for that first song. That threw us off a little bit. I don't do that. And Rick would tell you, he doesn't do it. Now he gets to tell other worship team members he doesn't do it. Because I don't know what God's going to do. I need to be prepared for what God's going to do. And that means I need to not come here to prepare, but prepare my heart every day. The second P is that pray that God has his way. And I have a ritual. I get away, right? You guys might see me, I'll disappear right before leading worship. I can't disappear before preaching, but I just wish I could sometimes. It's a heavy place. I'm going to tell you, a friend of mine told me many years ago, the pulpit is a heavy, heavy place because we'll stand before the Lord and give an account, I believe, for everybody sitting in front of me. And all the hundreds and even thousands of people that I've had the opportunity to be a part of their lives over the last 30 years of ministry. That's pretty heavy, and that's hard, and that's why I feel inadequate at times. But as you walk up, this is true, right, Pastor? You walk up, you go, God, help me. I mean, you prepared and prepared and prepared. Guys, I wrote this sermon 2 weeks ago so I could spend time and pray over it and preach. And Cindy will tell you, man, that's a lot of pages because my beautiful wife, she does my typing for me. Because I do paper. That's it. I don't do computers. You have to pray that God has his way. We have to pray up here, and we're always bouncing. I've seen Pastor Rick go like this. Well, so much for the notes, right? Because God was leading him a different direction. I pray for you guys because I want to be in tune to what God's doing in your life because we have to kind of guide the message. I'm not just going to go through a message and read a bunch of words. We learned that, we learned that playing in the clubs many years ago, Big Brian, right? We learned playing in the clubs, we could be doing play that funky music, white boy, right? That's a good groove right there, right? But if you see a lot of cowboys come in, pray that funky music. You got to change the way you do things. And so as I pray for you and see what worship does, I change sometimes. Sometimes it's exactly the way it's written, but usually it's not. Remember Paul said in 1 Corinthians 2, right? I don't come up here with any kind of eloquence of speech. I just want God's power in your life. I need it in my life. So the third P for me is that I purpose to hear from the Lord. I purpose to hear from God. Guys, the principle here is that the secret of strength is admitting weakness. Just like the happy are the sad, happy are those who mourn. The happiest day that I ever had in my life, other than meeting Cindy, was the day that I realized I was lost without Jesus. I was broken to a place where I had to come and say, Lord, I need you. For me, I think I've told you guys, I rolled off a jail cot, landed on the floor and said, God, forgive me. God said, come back, I love you. The principle here is that the secret of strength is admitting weakness. The secret of power is admitting helplessness. And the secret of happiness is humility. The secret of victory is surrender. You know why I like to see us raise our hands to the Lord? Because it's a way to say, God, I surrender. Listen, Solomon did it. And then Paul wrote in Romans, if it's good enough for our forefathers, it says that we should be well to walk in the footsteps of our forefathers. This is a symbol of surrender. And it's the beginning of life. When you surrender, you have victory. And the secret of independence is total dependence on God. Matthew 5:3 says that happy are those who know the need for God, for the kingdom of heaven is theirs. The day that I met Jesus, God gave me his whole kingdom. Tell your neighbor, the kingdom of heaven is yours. Worship team, can you come up? Who wants more joy? I mean, really, who wants to be happier? I do. Happiness begins from the inside out. If you want more happiness to show in your life, it starts inside. Would you just play in the key of D there, brother? Thanks. Now that you know the truth, John 13 says, now that you know the truth, how happy will you be if you put it into practice? In order to be more joyful and happy, how can I practice humility this week? Guys, Solomon had everything, right? And this is what he did before the altar. All I need is you, God. All I need is you. The rest is meaningless without you, Jesus. All I need is you. Let's just spend a couple minutes praying. Right where you're at, just spend a couple minutes praying.